that the fact that uh, you're going to have over 100 free agents, but the expansion draft is going to be prior to that. So normally a team would protect, and they haven't officially come out and said they're protecting 5, but that's the way it was prior. Many, including ESPN, believes that's what's going to happen here. But I mean, like the Fever, Michaela Timpson.
Two developments in the WNBA world are worth breaking down: the official ratification of the new collective bargaining agreement and the growing mess surrounding the expansion draft. On the CBA front, the Players Association released a statement confirming that over 90% of members participated in the vote with unanimous approval of the 2026 agreement. The numbers and the structure of the deal are genuinely significant progress. Unfortunately, the statement could not resist veering off into broader social commentary language about women refusing to settle, workplaces everywhere, being seen and respected.
Like the Fever, Michaela Timpson, right? Aaliyah Boston, Caitlin Clark. Everybody else is like free game. I mean, this is going to be interesting. And the previous CBA, I believe, allowed for just one unrestricted free agent to be signed by expansion squads. So how the hell is that going to work when you got over 100 players that are free agents? So, and that has an
None of that is relevant to a labor agreement announcement. Strip those 2 paragraphs out, move the section about economic progress to the front, and the statement becomes clean and professional. Instead, it reads like a rally speech, which is on brand for a union that consistently struggles to keep business matters strictly about business. Now to the expansion draft situation, which is shaping up to be a genuine organizational disaster.
And that hasn't exactly been cleared up here. You know what I mean? I mean, the teams are supposed to, I believe, take from April 1st until right before the expansion draft and put together their protected list. What's it supposed to look like I guess Lexi Hall's a restricted free agent. I guess they could protect her. I guess they can protect players.
Toronto Tempo and Portland Fire are both set to join the league, and the draft is scheduled for April 6th on ESPN. The format is expected to mirror how the Golden State Valkyries entered in December 2024. Existing teams protect a group of players, widely expected to be 5, and the 2 new franchises take turns selecting from what remains until each roster reaches 12. Here is where everything gets complicated. Teams have from April 1st through April 5th to finalize their protection lists.
Protect her. I guess they can protect players that were on their squad, but scheduled so they could, in theory, protect Sophie Cunningham or Kelsey Mitchell, even though this is where having an expansion draft, when you had to do a new CBA, has really effed a bunch of things up. So we'll get to that in a minute. The ratification statement put out by...
But as of now, neither Toronto nor Portland has received any official rules or guidelines about how the draft will actually operate. The league had a new CBA signed and did not have those regulations ready to go immediately. That is a basic organizational failure. The deeper problem is the free agency overlap.
Statement put out by the WNBA announced that with over 90% participation and a unanimous vote to approve, the players have ratified the terms of the 2026 collective bargaining agreement. This moment is the result of years of work and shared belief that as the league rises, so must the players. Too often, women have been told to be grateful for an opportunity. Here we go.
In 2024, Golden State was permitted to select only 1 unrestricted free agent during their expansion draft. This offseason, the overwhelming majority of players across the league are unrestricted free agents. That restriction effectively shrinks the available player pool to almost nothing, which defeats the entire purpose of the draft format. Think through what this looks like for a team like Indiana.
To be grateful for an opportunity. Here we go. You can't just stay on course about your CBA. It's got to turn. anything involving the Players Association has got to turn into a social statement, a social movement, some kind of bullshit that doesn't have anything to do with actual just business. This union sees it differently. It is about knowing our worth and having the courage to demand more, not just for ourselves, but for those coming.
Protected spots would likely go to Caitlin Clark, Ajano, Aaliyah Boston, Michaela Timpson, Kelsey Mitchell, and possibly Lexi Hull as a restricted free agent. That is 5 spots accounted for. Everyone else on the roster has not re-signed yet. Protection lists are being built around players who are not technically on the team.
Just for ourselves, but for those coming next. They are the most insufferable collection of athletes in any sport, folks. This is bigger than basketball. It shows what happens when women refuse to settle and claim what they have earned. It reaches beyond sports into workplaces everywhere, reinforcing what it means to be seen, respected, and compensated fairly for work you do. The transformational CBA delivers consequential economic progress.
How does a franchise protect someone who has not yet agreed to return? The timing of the CBA getting finalized this late, in a year with 2 expansion teams arriving, has created a situation with no clean answer. The league will have to revise the unrestricted free agent rule for this cycle, or the expansion teams will have almost no meaningful path to building a competitive roster through the draft process. Whether that fix comes before April 6th is unclear, but something has to give.
The transformational CBA delivers consequential economic progress and benefits that support players on and off the court. It builds a stronger foundation for today's players, the next generation, and those who help build the WNBA, blah, 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 blah. So the thing to have done would have been to cut out these 2 middle paragraphs and just move this second to last one up and then have that last little blurb, and that's it. And make it about basketball, make it about...
Right now, this entire structure is held together with tape. The Carver Hawkeye Arena has quietly become a pilgrimage destination for women's college basketball programs. The Arizona State women's team is the latest example, players visibly starstruck, shooting from the spot where Caitlin Clark broke the all-time NCAA scoring record. Even Fairleigh Dickinson's program posted their players attempting the same shot ahead of a game.
Like, it is actually a thing. And it is, in my opinion, that's one of the coolest things that Iowa did. I think that is one of the coolest things that Iowa have done. One of the smartest things they've done is that they put the 22 logo where she shot the, where she broke the college record. And I'm happy that Caitlin Clark didn't do it on like a free throw. I'm happy that she didn't do it on a free throw, on a layup. She did it on a logo 3. Because now it is like a thing. It is like a thing.
It has turned into a genuine tradition. What Iowa did there was genuinely clever. The decision to mark the exact spot where Clark hit that record-breaking logo 3 rather than a free throw line or a layup spot gave the moment a physical home. Because it was a deep 3, the distance alone makes it a spectacle.
A thing now that teams go and they want to just shoot at from the Caitlin logo. And if you guys agree that this is cool, subscribe. We are trying to hit 57,730 subscribers by the end of the day. We need 2 more to do that. That would be insane. That being said, I think this is cool. This is really, really cool. It puts in perspective how lame her shot was if everyone can do it. Make the same shot with a defender, you're facing national TV, sold out crowd. I mean, I'm going to be honest.
Teams line up, players struggle to reach the rim from that range, and that contrast is exactly what makes it meaningful. Making that same attempt with a defender in your face, under national television lights, in a sold-out arena, is a completely different proposition. No program in men's or women's basketball is replicating those conditions. The argument that Clark doesn't belong among the greatest college basketball players because she never won a national championship misses something important.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. No one in men's or women's basketball is doing that. Saying that it became a hallowed ground thing to do in the NCAA. Look at the smiles. Don't tell me Caitlin didn't change the game. Tell me she's not in once alive. I literally read someone and they're like, Caitlin's the most impact. You can't put Caitlin as a top player in women's college basketball because, you know, she never won. It's like, I'm going to be real here. And they were like, oh, Caitlin's actually not top 10. She win a championship. If Caitlin Clark goes to Notre Dame.
The team she led to back-to-back national championship game appearances at Iowa were not built for that stage. If Clark had transferred to UConn and paired with a healthy Paige Bueckers, the title picture shifts dramatically. If she had been surrounded at Iowa with a roster featuring Nika Moule, Lou Lopez Seneschal, Dorka Juhasz, and Aaliyah Edwards, a 2023 title run becomes entirely plausible. In 2024, with a healthy Bueckers beside her, the outcome likely changes.
Actually not top 10, she win a championship. If Caitlin Clark goes to Notre Dame, and let's just say hypothetically she goes to Notre Dame and rattles off 5 straight or 4 straight, or she goes to UConn and Gina or Emma realize, oh, you know what, I kind of fucked up, let's bring her to UConn, and they rattle off 4 straight, because they probably do. Like, they probably win with like Ono and like with that team with Caitlin Page. They probably win in 2021, 2022, 2020. Even with the Page injury, I'm sorry, I mean this when I say this, like, Caitlin Clark, they didn't play well.
But that's the entire point. Clark stayed at Iowa. She dragged a program that had no realistic expectation of reaching a Final Four, let alone consecutive championship games, to exactly that stage, twice. She became the all-time leading scorer in NCAA history, men's or women's, along the way.
Clark, they didn't play well against LSU. They should have won a title in 2023. They had no chance against South Carolina in 2024. They beat the team that they should have had no chance against 2023, and then lost to a team they should have beat. But in 2023, if you give Caitlin Clark, I'm not joking, if you give her Nika Mule, Lou Lopez Seneschal, who was the 5th pick in the draft that year, Dorka Juhasz, Aaliyah Edwards, I think it was KK Arnold. No, I don't think she was there that year. But if you give her Lou Lopez Seneschal,
transferring to UConn and walking into a ready-made championship was always an option. That path was available. She didn't take it. The Caitlin Clark versus Breanna Stewart debate is one of the more nuanced ones in women's college basketball history.
If you give her Lou Lopez Seneschal, AZ Fudd played that year. I think AZ might have been healthy for a bit that year. But if you give her AZ, Lou, Dorka, and Aaliyah Edwards and Nika Mule, Caitlin's winning a title that year. Caitlin's winning the title. And then in 2024, yeah, you put Caitlin and a healthy Page back on the floor, they win the title. Like, if Caitlin rattles off 4 straight at UConn, and let's just say Caitlin wins 2 MOPs and Page wins 2 MOPs, she wouldn't have been about.
They represent different kinds of greatness. Stewart is the greatest winner the college game has produced. 4 titles, 4 Most Outstanding Player awards, on a UConn team that likely wins those championships regardless of whether she's at full strength, given how dominant those rosters were in the years that followed her departure. Clark is the most statistically dominant individual player the college game has ever seen, operating without that kind of structural support. Without Clark, Iowa was borderline tournament level at best.
Page wins 2 MOPs. She wouldn't have been a better college basketball player than what she did at Iowa. She took a team that nobody thought had any chance of making a Final Four, made back-to-back national championship games. And while doing that, she was the all-time leader in points scored, NCAA points scored. Sometimes it means more to... Sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. And
the program came close to missing the field entirely in recent years with solid pieces around them. That context matters. Fairleigh Dickinson, a 15 seed, nearly the first 1-5/2 upset in women's tournament history, posted their players shooting from the Clark logo before tip-off.
The destination. And, like, let's be real, Caitlin Clark could have played 4 years. Like, Caitlin Clark could have left and transferred to UConn. Because you better believe, Gina Auriemma would have said, yeah. If winning a title and playing with the best player in the world mattered so much, Caitlin Clark could have just transferred to UConn, did her 5th year of eligibility, and walked to a national championship. Like, what are we saying here? But that's one of those things where it's like, love it. All these teams, this is what they're doing here. Several of these.
That detail says something.